Tucker Carlson puts Sidney Powell on blast. White House press briefing gets heated, and a recap of the 2020 major events so far. Before we get started with the news, if you're watching this video, I want to ask that you please go hit that subscribe button on my homepage, like this video, and share it with your friends. I don't have a marketing team or a big fancy studio, so all my video traffic comes through you, my viewers. So what are you waiting for? It only takes 2 seconds to minimize this video. Go to my homepage and subscribe. And if you like my content and you would like to see more of it, if you want to be part of helping my channel grow, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you never miss a video, and share this video with your friends. And if everyone who watched this video shared it one time, I would be the biggest YouTube channel by the end of the year. All right, so let's take a look real quick at this Charlie Kirk tweet, because I do think it's important to see what's happening in the world right now. So Charlie Kirk tweeted out, if we're able to get an FBI investigation into Jussie Smollett and Bubba Wallace, then why can't we get an investigation into allegations of widespread voter fraud? Okay, so for those of you who don't know, the Jussie Smollett investigation debacle was Jussie Smollett was the victim of a hate crime in Chicago. So people poured bleach on him. They were wearing MAGA hats in the middle of the night. There's only one problem. After the investigation, they found he paid 2 Nigerian brothers, black, to wear red hats and ski masks, put a noose around his neck, and pour bleach on him while he was on his way home from Subway. So this hate crime against him for being black and gay, he set up the whole thing. And then he didn't face any punishment for it, which is ridiculous. It's the most ridiculous thing ever. And then Bubba Wallace walks into he's a NASCAR driver. He walks into his garage and sees the garage door pull handle and freaks out and says, "Someone tied a noose in my garage because I'm black. The first black NASCAR driver. Everyone hates me." Only one problem. It wasn't a noose. It was just the pull handle. The handle was missing, so it was just a loop on the end of the handle. So everything is ridiculous. Everything is stupid. But I think what Charlie Kirk says, he hits the nail on the head with this one. If we're able to get investigations, FBI investigations, into these fake hate crimes, why can we not investigate allegations of widespread voter fraud? It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense to me. It shouldn't make any sense to you. And so this brings us to our next point. No, there's no investigations. There's supposedly evidence of all of this widespread voter fraud. But we don't know what's what because the Trump administration won't really share it with us. And so Tucker Carlson calls Sidney Powell out for this. Time for Sidney Powell to show us her evidence. Release the Kraken. Okay? Some people believe the evidence is real. Some people believe it's the Loch Ness Monster and it doesn't exist. If it's real, release it. On Thursday, Rudy Giuliani and a number of President Trump's other lawyers held a press conference on the topic of voter fraud. If you didn't actually see it, you've probably heard about it by now. Giuliani, along with former federal prosecutor Sidney Powell and a number of others, alleged that the 2020 election was stolen from Donald Trump. To demonstrate that, they exhibited some of what they found after 2 weeks of investigating. The presentation went on for 90 minutes with many different threads, about which more anon. How you viewed it depended largely on who you voted for. Trump voters seemed hopeful that it might change the election results. The left and virtually every single person in the news media immediately dismissed it as an embarrassing clown show, as well as a threat to the public. That's right. The very same people who swore that Vladimir Putin's agents controlled the U.S. government called it a conspiracy theory. I've been saying this for weeks. The very people that pushed for 4 years this bull crap, no evidence, baseless claim that Donald Trump's colluded with Russia and that Vladimir Putin controlled the U.S. election are now ignoring China's interference in the election for Joe Biden, and they're ignoring all of this alleged voter fraud. Something doesn't add up. Something isn't right here. A lot of Americans believe this election was rigged. They're not saying that because they're crazy, and they're not just saying it because they're mad. They mean it. And that's a potentially fatal problem for this country. Elections aren't merely central to democracy. Elections are democracy. Voting is the way the public expresses its will. It's all people have. If elections don't work, our entire system doesn't work. And this is something I've been talking about for a couple of weeks now. If we can't have confidence in our election system, in our voting, in our democracy, we can't live in a united country. We can't. If half the country is questioning the outcome of the election, sorry, we can't. We can't question. We can't live together in unity. We can't live together in harmony. Something's got to change. We have to have confidence in our democracy, and the only way to do that is not for half the country to just sit back and say, oh, well, I guess I'll just ignore it. No, the only way to have confidence in our elections, again, is for a full investigation to take place. And if you're on the left and you think Joe Biden won this hands down, then you should also be calling for investigations. If you think his win was legit, you should also be calling for investigations, because then you think, sorry, guys, looks like you got the investigation you wanted, and Biden still won, so get over it. This would add tools to your toolbox. So I don't understand why people aren't calling for investigations. Why aren't more people calling for investigations? Everything in this country depends on fair elections, and it's obvious even now that we don't have them when access to basic information is restricted and weaponized by partisan billionaire class. Google and Facebook are a far greater threats to our system than Russia has ever been, and we need to fix that immediately. Fact check true. 90% of internet traffic goes through Google. 90% means effectively they're controlling what 90% of Americans see. Probably more. Not all Americans use the internet. Tim Pool said we're in the Biden voters are low information voters because they don't know that Biden is just as much of a sleazebag as Donald Trump, but with crappier policies. And so if you have to choose between two sleazebags, you're going to choose the one with good policy, because at least he'll make your life better. You may not like him personally. I don't like Trump personally. But man, oh man, do I like his policies. I like being able to see me keeping more of my own money. I like the Middle East peace deals. I like that he's shutting down these riots. And he's trying to stop people from murdering each other. You think Joe Biden will do any of this? Joe Biden's already sworn to increase your taxes. He's already rolled over to allow Antifa and Black Lives Matter to continue to riot and kill each other in the streets. And we've already seen how his administration would handle the Middle East. If you don't remember, Obama's administration, which Joe Biden was partly in charge of in the Middle East, sent pallets of cash to Iran to allow them to grow their terrorist organization and their terrorist reach. So, forgive me when I say Biden voters are low information voters. They are. And that's not to be rude. That's not to be insulting. It's just a fact on the ground. Many of them don't know how to use Google or DuckDuckGo or Yahoo or Bing or whatever it is you use. They can't do it. But back to Thursday's press conference, which Giuliani kicked off by saying the Democrats stole the election by means of coordinated fraud in a number of states. Giuliani did not conclusively prove that, but he did raise legitimate questions, and in some cases, he pointed to what appeared to be real wrongdoing. At one point, Giuliani held up an affidavit from a worker in Detroit called Jesse Jacob, alleging fraud in that city's polling places. So we keep hearing this, there's no evidence of widespread voter fraud. Okay, let me set the record straight. If a 50-year-old claim, or 20 years or whatever it was for Brett Kavanaugh, if a decades-old claim about gang rape is enough evidence to drag a man through the mud and keep him from being on the Supreme Court, as the Democrats suggested in 2018, then a single affidavit from one poll worker should be plenty of evidence to conduct a full investigation of the entire voting process. Democrats, please, be consistent on your messaging. Is a claim enough to warrant investigation? Yes or no? If it's not, then you need to stop claiming that any man accused of rape should have his life ruined. You can't simultaneously claim, believe all women, and then turn around and say, oh, an affidavit is not enough to constitute evidence. The two can't work in tandem. They can't. Giuliani said she was assigned to voting duties in September, and she was trained by the city of Detroit and state of Michigan. She was basically trained to cheat. She said that, I was instructed by my supervisor to adjust the mailing date of these absentee ballot packages to be dated earlier than when they were actually sent in. The supervisor made that announcement for all workers to engage in that fraudulent practice. That's not me saying that. That's just American citizens saying that under oath. There you have it. There's your evidence of widespread voter fraud. But no, it doesn't exist. Who are you going to believe, says the media? Me? Your trusted news source? I wouldn't lie to you. I'm giving you the facts. Who do you believe, me or your own lying eyes? It's time to uproot the media machine in the United States and find alternative methods of getting the news. Subscribe to people like me, Dave Rubin, Joe Rogan, Ben Shapiro, Tim Pool, Jordan Peterson even. Find alternative methods of finding the news, the people who will give you the facts, not the ones who will give you their opinions and present it as fact. The media is lying to you. There's no evidence of voter fraud. Whatever. There's evidence all over the place of voter fraud. And the people are ignoring it because they don't want Donald Trump to win. They want him to lose. They want a quote-unquote return to normalcy. They want the return to the Obama-Biden normalcy, which is why the media is pushing so hard that Trump has lost the election. Kayleigh McEnany, in a press briefing, dismisses reporters shouting questions. I don't call on activists. These people want Donald Trump to lose, and they want Joe Biden to win because he will let them do whatever they want, and he won't call on them for being fake news. White House Press Secretary Kayleigh McEnany dismissed reporters who shouted questions at the end of her Friday press briefing by declaring that she doesn't call on activists before walking away from the podium. This piece by Fox. McEnany took questions from several reporters, but Playboy's Brian Karem repeatedly shouted at her during the press briefing with questions about when President Trump will admit he lost the election. Okay, first of all, if shouting at a woman is sexist, then it's sexist across all the spectrum. It doesn't matter if the woman is on the right or the left, okay? Again, Democrats, be consistent with your messaging. If talking over a woman is sexist as AOC, which I'm now informed that she doesn't like to be called AOC. She wants to be called Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, representative from New York, whatever. No, AOC. If being talked over is sexist, then being talked over is sexist, and you don't get to do it to women you don't like on the right. Be consistent with your messaging. This is why so many people are fleeing the left, the progressive left, and now consider themselves to be moderates, centrists. Because the left pole, P-O-L-E, has shifted so dramatically to the left that they're leaving behind the moderates in their party, and they don't want anything to do with them. Party affiliation for the Democrats is dropping. Okay? Affiliation for the Republicans is staying about the same. So now they're about even, but man, that middle lane is pretty crowded right now. And you think they're going to go with the people, with the open Marxists, communists? No. They're going to go with the people who haven't shifted their ideals at all, almost. The Republican Party hasn't shifted its ideals much at all. You can take a look. Go look at their founding principles and then look at their messaging throughout history and all the things. The Republican platform has not changed, but the Democratic platform has. And so they're leaving behind their moderates, which is why we get stuff like this happening and people see it and they're like, oh, geez, here we go again. Do you understand the definition of sedition? Do you understand that he lost? Karam shouted as McEnany was wrapping up. Another reporter appeared to shout a question too, prompting the press secretary to return to the microphone. I don't call on activists, McEnany said. I'm not an activist, a reporter was heard saying as McEnany exited. CNN's Caitlin Collins confirmed after the briefing that she was the reporter who irked the press secretary. She called me an activist, Collins tweeted. It's understandable why someone who hasn't done her job taking questions from reporters in weeks could confuse someone else doing theirs with activism. Blah, 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 blah. This is all just ridiculous. It's kabuki theater. It's political malpractice. And I think these press briefings need to not be live on air because then it encourages people like Karam to be overtly rude. Did your mother teach you nothing? It's rude to interrupt when someone is talking. So don't do it. You don't get to interrupt just because you don't like something that someone is saying. Wait till they're done. And then you raise your hand and wait for them to call on you, especially if they are the ones in charge. Don't be, I can't even say the words I want to say. Don't be a moron. Don't be a jerk. Is it too much to ask for human decency and the return of politeness in American politics? You freak out that Donald Trump calls people stupid and he calls Adam Schiff pencil neck. And then you do crap like this? No. No. Live by your own standards. You don't get to play this rules for thee, but not for me standard. This is why your ratings are dropping. This is why ratings for people like Fox News are shooting way up. This is why people are finding alternative news facts, because you're not presenting the facts and you're being total jackwagons, to keep it PG. Stop being jerks. Be better. Don't fall into the 2020 trap of being subpar. Live up to the standard that's been set for you. Speaking of the 2020 par standard, Rockefeller Center's famous Christmas tree on brand for 2020. Oh my Lord. This tree is awful. The Rockefeller Center Christmas tree is one of the most famous in the world, but the giant Norway spruce erected in the New York City landmark this year has left some less than impressed. There's never, ever a good enough excuse to use the word erected. The 75-foot tree arrived on Saturday and was lifted into position by crane. It is set to be decorated in the coming weeks and lights switched on at a ceremony early next month, but social media users have been quick to mock its sparse appearance, with some calling it an apt tribute to 2020. Fact check true, this tree is on par for 2020, just like the journalists in this press briefing. The tree was brought from Oneonta, I have no idea, New York State, and arrived with police escort. The Rockefeller Center shared an image of it being secured in place on Twitter, writing, "Let the holiday seasons begin The company that owns Rockefeller Center has said it is particularly proud to keep the tree tradition going this year at a time when the coronavirus pandemic has forced the cancellation of some other New York holiday traditions. I wouldn't be proud of this tree if I were them. I would not be proud of that tree. But some on social media users joked that it is underwhelming and bare appearance was appropriate for 2020. The Rockefeller Christmas tree, just like the rest of us, really been through things in 2020, one Twitter user wrote. I know it's 2020 and everything is terrible, but the Rockefeller Christmas tree should be a lot fuller, said another. Could the Rockefeller Christmas tree look any worse? 2020 on brand. The Rockefeller Center Christmas tree. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give 2020 a round of applause. Half the tree is missing. Jeez. Many users also responded with jokes, likening it to the small, sparse tree in the popular animated television special A Charlie Brown Christmas. Charlie Brown, I have the saddest Christmas tree. Rockefeller Center, hold my beer. Oh my stars. Same energy. I love it. I love it. Others, however, had defended the tree, saying it would look different when its branches had settled and it was decorated. That tree has been bound and tightly wound for transport. It will fill out, one wrote. It was donated, no cost to the city. The branches have to settle. It will have lights and ornaments. It will look beautiful, another said. The Rockefeller Center Christmas tree is not only spruce to be mocked on social media. Similar jokes have been made about this year's tree in Cincinnati's Fountain Square. Holy crap, it's even worse. It's even worse. Last year, the tree in London's Trafalgar Square was branded a turkey over its sparse foliage and an anemic appearance. Anywhere the Christmas tree in Rome 2017 was widely panned on social media, with some liking it to a toilet brush. Oh my. And this is just one major event from 2020. Let's take a look at some of the others. What all happened in 2020? The Australian bushfires. Prince Harry and Meghan Markle got booted from the royal family. The COVID-19 pandemic. Kobe Bryant died. Donald Trump was impeached. Parasite swept the Oscars. He shouldn't have. Harvey Weinstein verdict. Stock market crashed. Black Lives Matter protests over George Floyd. Kim Jong-un died and then didn't. Biden becomes the presidential nominee. The Twitter was hacked. Ghislaine Maxwell was arrested. Murder hornets. The Beirut explosion. Kamala Harris was chosen as VP candidate. Chadwick Boseman died. The West Coast wildfires. Ruth Bader Ginsburg died. Trump tested positive for COVID-19. Eddie Van Halen died. And then Joe Biden won the popular vote. All of this, ladies and gentlemen, give a round of applause to 2020. And this isn't even including things like the toilet paper shortage from earlier in the year. And now we're having a toilet paper shortage round 2. Ladies and gentlemen, 2020 pulled out all the stops for us. I've seen a meme floating around Facebook. It's like God told an angel, did you get finished setting up everything for the 2020s? And the angel says, wait, 2020s as in plural? And God says, yeah, what did you think I mean? And the angel just kind of sits there, and God says, wait, did you put a decade's worth of history into 1 year? And the angel says, yeah, kinda. That's pretty much exactly what's happening this year. There is so much insanity. Ladies and gentlemen, I sincerely hope the next 10 years will be a normal decade and not as crazy as 2020 has been. All right. Like I said at the beginning of the video, please hit that like and subscribe button. Share this video with your friends. I've had a lot of fun doing this segment today. I'll be back tomorrow. Try not to burn down the country while I'm gone. See you guys tomorrow.